Hey guys, it's Eleanor, and today I am giving you guys a ranking on what movie I think should win Best Picture at the Oscars. This video is going to have spoilers, so if you haven't seen these movies and you intend to, I would recommend you hold back from this video. Feel free to put what movie you think should win Best Picture in the comments, and let's get started with number 8. In last place, I put Nomadland. Now, I'm aware that a lot of people really enjoyed this movie and that they think it has a high chance of winning, and I agree. Nomadland is very relevant. It's not based on a true story per se, but it's based on true events, especially now with the pandemic. And I will agree that even though it's last on my list, it does have the highest chance of actually winning. Now, let's get into why I put it last. The movie was 1 hour and 50 minutes long, but it felt like forever. It just kept dragging on and on. At first, I thought it was because I'm fairly young, so this movie isn't very interesting for a kid, but I watched it with my mom, and she agreed with me. They had so much potential to do something amazing with this movie, and they just didn't. Frances McDormand plays the lead role, and she is an amazing actress. They could have done so much more with her character. Even with Fern and Dave, they could have given them a bigger plotline together because I liked Dave. He kept the movie interesting for me. In conclusion, I liked the intent of the film, but I didn't like how they portrayed it. On to number 7, I put Mank. I would not watch this movie again, and from what I've seen online, this seems to be a popular opinion. I did, however, really enjoy Gary Oldman's performance, especially in the dinner scene. This movie is also one of the 4 that is based on a true story, so that also kept it interesting for me. If you are someone that watches and enjoys 30s and 40s film, then I feel like you would understand the references and you would enjoy this movie. But as someone who has only seen the early Disney cartoons and The Wizard of Oz, I was very confused and just found myself staring at Amanda Seyfried and Lily Collins the whole time. I really wish I had watched Kitten Kane before I watched this movie, because maybe then I would understand some of the references and its significance in history, but I didn't, so it's number 7. At number 6, I put The Father. Despite this being third last on my list, I really enjoyed this movie, but compared to the other movies, I had to bump it down. The main reason I enjoyed this movie so much was because of Anthony Hopkins' performance. He 100% deserves that nomination for Best Actor. The scene where his son-in-law was slapping him, it was horrible to see the character who is the oldest and has the sharp personality all of a sudden become so small and vulnerable, and it broke my heart. And in the last scene, Anthony was able to act out that I give up, I'm vulnerable type of ugly cry without making it look forced, which a lot of actors fail to do. Now, the fact that I've only been able to talk about Anthony Hopkins' performance says a lot about the actual movie. The plot was great. It was a heart-wrenching story, but Anthony's performance really takes center stage. And all the reviews that I read also only mentioned Anthony's performance. So that says a lot. This category is Best Picture, not Best Actor, so that's why I put it at number 6. On to number 5, I put Manari. Out of all of these movies, Manari has the highest ranking on Rotten Tomatoes, standing at a 98%, and it has really good audience reviews, so I was expecting to get a lot out of this, and I did. So, this movie took such a simple premise and made it something bigger, which, as you can tell from my rant about Nomadland, I appreciate. The actress who plays the grandma did an amazing job, and she definitely deserves that nomination for Best Supporting Actress, and I really hope she wins it. However, something that was disappointing going into this movie was I had heard that Alan Kim, who played David, received a Golden Globe for his performance, so I was expecting more from his character, but they really didn't do much with him, and I wish they had done more. He was mostly used for comedic relief, being that kind of lovable child character, except for the one scene when he was talking about how he doesn't want to die, which did make my eyes water. But with all that being said, let's move on to number 4. At number 4, I put Promising Young Woman. I watched this movie when it came out because I'm a huge Bo Burnham fan. However, I promise I'm not being biased. The best thing about this movie is the bittersweet ending. Cassie dying was a really big twist that I didn't expect, but it was definitely needed in order to wrap the movie up. If she had lived, it just wouldn't have been the same. When she dies, you think that the bad guys won, but then when the cops come to find them in the end, you just can't help but smile. The casting is spot on for this movie. A YouTube channel called MOLASSES made a whole video about it. I'll put the link in the description. He talked about how this movie with a very serious plot has mainly comedic actors playing the roles. You got Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Max Greenfield, and as I said earlier, Bo Burnham. When you see these people on screen, you are naturally expecting to have a good laugh. You feel comforted. The reason I watched this movie was because Bo Burnham was in it, and I was so excited that he wasn't playing a minor role. And when they did the reveal that these characters that your favorite lovable comedians are playing are such shitty people, you're shocked. And that is exactly what the creators of this movie wanted. I did really enjoy this movie, however, compared to the other 3, it unfortunately did not make the top 3. But I've talked enough about this, so let's move on. On to number 3, I put Judas and the Black Messiah. This movie was so powerful, I couldn't not put it in the top 3. The only thing that angered me or disappointed me about this movie was not even the movie. It was the fact that I hadn't heard anything about Fred Hampton until I watched this movie. I didn't even know who he was. His story is so impactful that I think they should watch this movie in schools. Is it rated R? Yes. But his story is so powerful they can't not teach it. Another thing that angered me was that neither Daniel Kaluuya or Dominic Fishback were nominated for any other Oscar. They both did a phenomenal job, especially Dominic in that last scene. If this movie wins over my #1 choice, I wouldn't have any complaints. This movie is amazing and I highly recommend that you watch it if you haven't yet, and I also recommend that you look up more about Fred Hampton. At number 2, I put Sound of Metal. Out of all of the 8 movies, this one is my favorite. It didn't get the #1 spot, but it was still very good. The sound design in this movie is very important, and they did it so well. Even the little things, like how the credits have no music, it just leaves a sort of feeling inside you that you can't explain. It really helps you feel the impact of what Ruben was feeling. As someone who loves music to her core, knowing that Ruben will never get to experience music the same way that he did, and Riz Ahmed's performance of that, definitely left a feeling in me. Even though this movie was incredible and it's my favorite one out of them, I don't think it has a chance at winning because it doesn't have a sort of like outstanding relevant topic like the other movies have, but if it did, I would be happy. Now, the process of elimination, at number 1, I put The Trial of Chicago 7. This movie left me with chills, which hasn't happened in a long time. Fred Hampton was in it, so I got to learn more about him. I experienced every emotion while watching this movie. I don't think I've ever been so mad at someone like I was with the judge. He was so disgusting, he made my skin tight. There were certain parts where my jaw was just on the floor, like when Fred got bound and gagged, for example. That scene said so much. The ending gave me chills. What an excellent yet devastating way to end a film. One of the things that disappointed me, though, was that they had made Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character good at the end. I hated how they did that, and that was another thing that made me angry. I do think this movie has a chance at winning. It was set 50 years ago, but there isn't one thing about it that isn't relevant now, which the Academy seems to enjoy. And after I watched it, I did some research about the trial, and the movie isn't that factually correct, but it still has a very powerful message. Feel free to put what movie you think should win Best Picture in the comments. I would love to hear your opinions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. Don't forget to hit that bell so you get notified when I post a new video every single weekend. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Bye!